Well, it's another morning, and this probably will be the last morning for a while that I'm going to be here. I've chosen a different spot up on this hill to film from. There goes one of the pigs already exploring the new area. I just turned them in here. And there's something you're looking at right there, which I'll explain in a minute. But I want to say that there's some things I wanted to clear up, or at least explain. One thing, this is fossil fuel free pig raising or whatever. I mean, I give them some shell corn to move them from place to place, and of course it's part of their feed, but it's not very much. They mostly get it from pasture. But the main thing is there's no tractor involved here. There's no all-terrain vehicle. The fossil fuels would be in the plastic fence posts and the wire. I mean, they're doing the cultivating all themselves, which is a whole subject that I want to deal with, because I think the history of agriculture is seriously leaving out a whole time or technique of working along with pigs. That's what I think. All right, that's one thing. Another thing, pigs don't stink. People say, oh, pigs, I know one thing about them, they stink. No, they don't stink. They don't stink any worse than humans, probably not as bad as humans. If they're kept in a pen, in a barn all together and not let out, yeah, they stink. But they automatically house train themselves. I've had like over 20 sleeping in the same area in the barn for a month or longer without cleaning it out. They keep that clean. They're very clean by choice. Another thing, the boars, the idea is, oh, you got to castrate them. A boar is, you couldn't possibly eat that meat. That's not true. Under some circumstances, maybe, if they're in the middle of rutting or whatever you call it, or if you're feeding them a lot of soybeans or something. I don't know. And certainly if you're keeping them penned in close and not letting them out on pasture. But I ate pork or sausage every day all winter last year, and gave a lot of it away to other people, just asking, tell me, does this have a bad taste? No. Some of them didn't like the recipe of the sausage, but no, that didn't. So I want to clear that up. Now, what you're looking at, I'm quite convinced that this is an inclined plane where they brought ore from up here where I'm standing down. I'm going to walk down it. There, I just had to stop to pick my gloves up. Here you can see contour ditching that I did many years ago that's still here. But anyway, that's not my subject. I'm going to walk down this anomaly. This is not the natural way that this hill was. And it may not be the only place, but my only explanation for it really is that it was the roadbed, sort of, more or less, of an inclined plane where they brought the ore down. And I'm really not too sure you can see what I'm following. But, you know, where it was going, I'll have to bring the pigs, probably let them up here into this area, which I showed you yesterday, that is all sedge and the goats won't eat it. Probably let them up here so they can give their explanation better. But right about at this point where I'm coming to, it must have gone up on a trellis of some kind, this inclined plane. And its destination down there, I'm just not sure. But I wanted to mark that. I'm preparing the next section and the last section while the walking is pretty good before the storm comes. But I got to pause here just to show you what these pigs have done since yesterday. It went down to 13 degrees last night Fahrenheit, and the ground's frozen in places. It's going to freeze. So, you know, we'll see what happens then. I don't know if they'll get much feed off this then. Well, let me get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 7th pig is out of sight somewhere. But anyway, they do such beautiful work. Still another thing I should probably mention. You might think about erosion. You know, what about that when the hard rain comes and What's going to happen then? Well, plowed land erodes, but terraced land has almost zero erosion. There's the other pig. 1, 2, 3. Now they're all here. It almost has no erosion at all, and this is partially terraced now. And why I'm having the pigs do this in any case is because I need to get access to the ground to shape it better into those terraces, and I couldn't do that with that thick sod. When they're done, I'll be able to get to that ground and shape it better. So ultimately, although on the short run there's going to be some erosion, clearly, because of what they're doing, but in the long run they're helping me to form these terraces. Here we have goat pasture. The reason it's eroded like it is, the reason those are on contour lines is because I dug them. It's contour ditched. But right there, the reason it's eroded like that is because there is the mine face, what's been covered up. Now this pasture here is goat pasture, but they won't eat it. There's too much sedge. It's too wet. They're not that starving. And there's ground that they've been working on for about a week, and beyond it, ground that has been like 4 or 5 weeks. There's one other thing I thought of to say now, because I might forget. I've forgotten to say it. You might say, well, so what's the end game here? You terrace it, and then what happens? Well, the pigs graze it, but ultimately people would garden it. I mean, that's the pigs are basically substitutes for the people. But it takes a lot of gardening. You can't just, throw some seed on there and walk away and leave it. But I could supply it with water. The terraces will be made. The pigs will be available when they're needed. So ultimately, the pigs are helping me shape this ground. That's where I've come from. Down there's where I turn the pigs across, and they sleep in the barn at night. Don't worry, they've got shelter. But this you might like to see. That's what the pigs have done, and me with my my contour ditching for the last year. I mean, that was wild, and that's what they've taken it to. And the pond, it was so cold last night that ice formed on the pond. So can give you an idea of what it's like after they've had a year or a season on the ground.